One of our top stories now, and Pule Mabe and Zizi won't be speaking on behalf of the ANC for a while. This after bowing to pressure and stepping aside while dealing with allegations of sexual harassment and rape. During an earlier briefing, ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule, however, seemed to be downplaying some of the allegations.
They strongly feel that they have not done anything criminal. There's never been an allegation against Pule Mabe of rape. There's never been such an allegation. There has been an allegation of sexual harassment, not rape at any given stage.
But you can't call it impropriety for both of them, because it is a crime of an allegation of sexual nature against a vulnerable group in society. So when you call it impropriety, almost compared to like it's corruption.
Well, let's say there was this allegation of sexual harassment, as you want us to, and I'm sure we have been saying so. So maybe the language there we can correct it. There's no problem about it. So Pule Mabe faced that allegation of sexual harassment. There were 8 charges against them, and both parties agreed that on these 8 charges, we agree that amicably these things were not that much of an issue. The disagreement was on the issue of sexual harassment. And the lady said, if you want to go to CCMA, if you want to go to any court of law, Pule Mabe did not stand in front of that particular approach. So is Comrade Zizi Kodwa.
Well, as we've told you, ANC spokespersons Zizi and Pule Mabe have voluntarily taken leave from their duties in the wake of rape and sexual harassment claims to look at the effect this is likely to have on the brand ANC. We are now joined by Solly Moeng, a brand and reputation management expert at DonValley. Thank you so much for coming through, Solly Moeng. And
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Gauteng, by the way.
I'm happy to be here.
Coming from that other city. Solly, this issue of rape and sexual harassment involving these leaders in the ANC. The ANC, the brand promise is we will work to build a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist society. And when you see these incidents happening and you see how the ANC grapples to manage these issues, what does that do to them living up to that brand promise?
Look, we've heard of people being told not to kick dogs that are lying down already, but we've never heard of dogs that keep kicking themselves while they're lying down. I think the ANC has done a lot of hurt, a lot of harm to itself over time. Reputationally, we all know that these are not the only people who have damaged the reputation, the image of the ANC. So this is really just adding to a whole pile of things that the ANC has to deal with in order to regain its credibility out there. I doubt that it will gain its credibility. And I don't think that what these men have done, or are alleged to have done, is the biggest hurt that has happened to the ANC in recent years.
And so, as you say, it's part of a compounding effect, isn't it? In that these scandals, the one being a rape allegation and the other being sexual harassment claims, come in the context of an ANC that, whose brand is battered and bruised already from all the years of the allegations of corruption.
Right. Look, and these 2 officials are not government officials. They are ANC officials. The Secretary General of the ANC, who's now speaking on this matter in his own way, has got issues hanging over his head. So it's very hard to find anybody in the ANC, perhaps the President, who can speak with a level of credibility over what's going on and what needs to happen in order for the ANC to be heard. I mean, the issues of sexual harassment and rape are always complicated issues, especially when they happen in a political environment, a highly charged political environment ahead of an election that everybody knows is going to be a watershed. So one has to be careful how one deals with the details of what is alleged to have happened. But at the high level, it's very true that the ANC doesn't need this. It has enough to deal with already.
So, Solly, you talk about the importance of how you deal with this situation, and I suppose that's what it boils down to, because, you know, the allegations that are being made against these two individuals are certainly not unique to the ANC as an organization. They are endemic in our society. What did you make of the way that the ANC has dealt with this in terms of sort of presenting an image that says we take these issues seriously as an organization? One, the sexual harassment claim, there was that panel that was put together and came to the conclusions that it did. And on the rape allegation, we are now seeing that, you know, they've asked, Zizi Kodwa is said to have volunteered to step aside. Does that communicate a message that says this is an organization that takes these issues seriously?
Well, I think, first of all, where crime is said to have committed, especially in the matter of Zizi Kodwa, I think Justice Duarte was correct to say it must go to the police. The ANC cannot be the policeman on this matter. This thing has to be investigated properly. But I'm also worried that we're hearing a lot the versions of the men involved in these stories. We're not hearing enough from the women. We hear one is saying, I'm not happy with the outcome in the respect of Pule Mabe, and she wants justice. Perhaps the other one will say the same thing. But the fact is the ANC has lost all credibility to deal with matters that impact on its own image in a way that will satisfy everybody out there, because there are too many things that are sitting, that are waiting for the ANC to deal with, that impact on the country. These are issues that impact on the ANC's credibility, but there are issues that the ANC has to deal with that, because they affect it, they also affect South Africa. The ANC is still sitting with people in the cabinet who shouldn't be in the cabinet. So if South Africans were to choose, and I'm not talking about members of the African National Congress, I'm talking about South African at a broader level, if they were to choose between the ANC having to deal with these two issues and the ANC having to deal with issues that impact on the credibility of the country, it would not be an easy one. Of course, the issues involve women's rights and, you know, what is alleged to happen to the women, but there are also issues that concern the country, how the ANC has managed the affairs of the country, how it continues to manage the affairs of the country, the lack of seriousness in dealing with people who are in cabinet, for instance, who have all sorts of implications, who are implicated in crime and all sorts of other wrongdoing.
So what does Cyril Ramaphosa, as the person at the head of the ANC, as its president, what does he do with this going into an election? I suppose on the side of issues to do with, you know, improper governance and corruption that we've seen over the years, the message is, hey, we've begun to deal with this. What message does it take to the electorate, which is, you know, the majority of whom are women? Right. What does he and his leadership, what do they say as a message to South Africans on these issues that we face on a daily basis?
Correct. Look, at the end of the day, whatever comes out of these two cases has to satisfy South Africans that there was no favoritism, that the women were allowed the space to express themselves, that they too, actually, nobody should be speaking on behalf of the women. In the best of worlds, they should be coming out and speak for themselves and say, this is what happened to me. This is what I think should happen in order to deal with this matter, and whether or not they're satisfied with whatever outcome we get in the end. And until then, we hear the ANC dealing with their own issues internally. We have no idea what kind of discussions are being had in those kind of hearings, especially because at the top of these hearings, you have the Secretary General, who is himself not a credible person. So it's very, very hard for the ANC. It's very hard for the president, because he has to decide almost on a daily basis whether he's wearing the ANC hat when he leaves his office, or whether he's wearing the South African president's hat when he leaves his office. And the two are not always speaking to each other. What's good for the ANC is not always good for South Africa. What's good for South Africa is not always good for the ANC.
All right, Solly Moeng, thank you so much for coming through and having this conversation with me. Thank you so much. We've been talking there about the issues to do with the ANC and the allegations made against its spokesperson, Pule Mabe, and the men who then came in to sort of act in his position, Zizi Kodwa.